How's it going, everybody? Tonight we start another build, and where is it at, you may be asking? We're going to have to go over here to get it. Again, welcome back to the channel, everybody. So glad each and every single one of you can make it. That's right, we're going to have to go over here, or precisely right there, to get one. So I've got a couple boxes over here that has stuff in it. I've got it labeled, and all these down here are for customs and stuff. So let's see, 18 Copo Camaro, 68, 81, right there, 69 Copo Camaro. This will be from the Muscle Mania, and it's yellow, and I have one in this box. So I need to mark that off, but let's get it out of the box first, shall we? And she's yellow, so that shouldn't be that hard to find. I see a bunch of gassers. Trying to get the box where you can see too. That's the new 68. I don't want that. I see it. Let me get this one back in there. Right here. Yep, right there she is. Now let's talk about what we're doing with it. Very nice casting as it is. But what could we be doing with this one? Well, what we are going to do is build our version of a very, very iconic Camaro. And this happens to be going in my personal collection. I am planning on doing two of these if I do it right. I'm going to do a regular one, and I'm going to do me a Spectre Flame one. But to get to the point, this is what we're building. That's right, we are building the Big Red Camaro, the one that started the whole pro touring craze. Yep, that's what we're doing. So we have the car. What else do we need? I know I'm going to have to build an air dam for that front, because his looks nothing like that. Thank God for YouTube and photos and Bing and all that great stuff, so I can look stuff up. And I'm going to have to build that iconic huge rear wing for his top speed stuff. Because if you don't know anything about that Big Red Camaro, that car runs over 220 miles an hour. Naturally aspirated. Oh my goodness. So yeah, we're going to build that. I don't know if I'm going to use this interior or not. I don't know what wheels I'm going to use. But I do know one thing for certain. It's going to be red. And it's going to have these. So let me get this out of the pack. We'll get it drilled apart. I'll get it in the stripper. And next time you see it, it will be, we'll be looking it over for casting lines and stuff like that. Now luckily, this one is not going to be that hard to build, because like I said, I basically just got to, I'm going to have to look, I may have to grind this spoiler off to make the other one fit. That'll be one of the hardest things. But probably the very hardest thing for me is going to be making that front air dam, because he doesn't use this lip, so I'll probably have to cut that off, and then I'll probably have to fabricate one out of styrene at the bottom. And I'll show you those pictures as we get to going and doing that and everything. But basically, that's it. I mean, the decals and everything. But I think I'm going to do something with this interior, because his car doesn't have factory interior like this. So I think I'm going to do something else with that. We'll see. We'll see when that time comes. Well, let's get this bad boy in the citrus strip. It's kind of funny because I did not plan this to work out this way, but there's actually another car in here that is also yellow. It's the Sandwich that Mr. Brummett sent me. So I've got that in there being stripped, and we're going to drop this bad boy in. As you can see, I've got screws in it. We're going to drop this right on in on top, and it shouldn't take that long for it to sink up, because this is a rather heavy casting. It's a shame that the Camaros never do good on the racetrack. For whatever reason, they never do good. They're balanced great. They've got great weight and everything. And like I said, they're balanced really good, but they just never do good on the tracks. But I still love them. So with that being stated, we'll see this in 24 hours. We're going to put this up. Drop everything else into a container so we don't lose anything. And yeah, we'll see you at the next step. So I'm sitting here, got this out of the stripper, made a couple of adjustments already. And I still got more to do, but if you look, you can see the brass tubing in there because the wheels that I'm going to use are like this, and of course they'll get painted. There's what they look like, if I can get it to focus. I've got to paint those, so. But anyhow, I wanted the car to sit a little bit lower because if you look at the pictures of this particular car online, I'll try to remember to insert some. This car sits lower. It doesn't have that real high rake to it, you know, where Hot Wheels puts the huge tires on the back. I'm trying to get this in. Sometimes they want to go easily, sometimes they don't. But yeah, Hot Wheels will put that huge tire on the back. It's not going to work. Tire's coming off. There we go. And the smaller tire on the front. Well, Big Red uses more of a square setup. I didn't want to go too low, but I did want to drop it down some. As you can see, that's a pretty good drop from what it was. The back rolls just fine. There's no issue there whatsoever, but the front is hitting. And what I actually want to do is get that front inside the fender lip. I'm just showing you a couple of things that I'm going to be working on. I'm not worried about the back ones. They're fine. But the front ones, what I need to do is I'm going to need to grind out some of this on the back side. And I'm going to cut part of the spacer off of the back of the wheel. I'm going to actually sand that down. So the spacer that's on the back right there, I'm going to get rid of most of that. And what that will do is that will tuck it up inside the car a little bit more and make it look more authentic. Because right now, whenever I put the interior and everything in it, push down on it, you know, with the screw, it wants to hit, wants to rub on that metal on the inside. And it sticks out a little bit further than what I like. I want to go in about half of that spacer, and then I'll grind out part of that. So that's that. And if you look, this is going to be a major undertaking. This is going to be the hardest part of the whole job. I don't know if I'm going to get it pulled off. Not this that I'm fixing to show you. I'm going to have to grind this factory spoiler off because Big Red has a spoiler that comes around the sides and to the front into a peak, and then it goes around again. I'll insert the picture so you can see it better. But I need to get rid of this because it needs to actually super glue on the bottom of the car. Along that lines right there, it's going to be exact to that. So I'm going to have to cut and sand this to where it'll fit behind that spoiler without knocking it off every time. So there is that. Next major modification is going to be the interior. Big Red doesn't have a factory interior. I know that I could get by with just painting it, putting the spoiler on, different wheels, and coloring it that. But if I don't push myself, how am I ever going to learn? So what I want to do is I have several of these NASCAR interiors lying around. This one you can see it's got the single seats, got the shifter because Big Red is a straight drive unless it's in the supercharged version, then they have automatic in it. And it's got the ignition control modules there and fire extinguisher there, and you know, different lines and different things in there. And I really want to use this. And it has a 3D printed steering wheel. It's actually pretty nice considering what it is. By the time I prime it and paint it, it'll look really good. And it comes with the roll bars. Big Red does use a window net, so I want to be sure to put that in there. And Big Red does have a full roll cage system. But herein lies the problem. The cars are different sizes. The NASCAR car is longer and the base is flat on the base. So that gives them all the room in the world to fit this in. Well, if I take this and stick it up here, I'm going to line up just the insides where the firewall would go, which is right there. First thing right off the bat, you can see, get it kind of close, the rear end is way longer than that one. So we'll take care of that when we get there. But what I've got to do is get a pointer, get the inner fender well for the NASCAR interior to line up with this one. So that means I'm going to have to make 2 cuts. I'm going to have to make a cut right along the back of the back seat and right along the front of those fender wells and get rid of that middle piece, move that up, and super glue it together. Because if you look, that's almost exactly the amount that I got to take out. There's a fender well, and it's almost right at the back seat. And then, if you flip it over and line them up, you'll notice another difference. Get it lined up so you can see it. I'll just push it all to one side. There's that much difference in the width of the interior. So I've got to take about that much off each side to get it to go in. So there's a good bit of work that's got to be done to this. And I want to use the roll bars, of course. All right, let me show you where we're at. If you remember, I was going to cut this down and move this up, and it fit perfect, except all of this right in here was going to be hitting on all of this. I started filing it down, and I'm like, no, if I do that too much, it'll make it real weak. And it was going well, but it just wasn't fitting the way I needed for it to fit, so I abandoned that idea. And I just took me a piece of styrene, cut it the same width as this and the same length of it, and I've got it glued on there, and it will go. I'll just roughly show you. But that right there is roughly how it will sit in there and look. Next time I do something like this, I'm going to just make my interior. Now, as far as clearancing, I still got to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little bit off the back side of the wheel like I told you. But if you look in there, you can see that big, thick metal lip. I'm going to, after I cut the wheel, stick it in there, and I'm halfway eyeball it and mark it. And then I'll grind all that excess metal off in there. I'll grind all that off on both sides, and that should tuck it in. Because if you look at the real picture, the front tires are tucked up in there anyway. So, there's that. I'm going to stand still until tomorrow. When I get home from work, I'll take care of this.
record.